What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going over this guy right here. This is the SIG P320 M17, not to be confused with the actual military model, the SIG M17. This is the commercialized version, the version that's available to us civilians. To clarify real quick, there is a commemorative version of this that you can buy. This is not the model. The commemorative version follows the actual military version even closer. You have certain things like the internal steel parts have a PVD coating. Instead of saying SIG P320 M17, it says SIG M17. Not to mention there's different serial numbers that resemble the military markings on this guy. The military enabled SIG to sell a certain batch or a certain amount of these guys to the civilian market. And I think there was about 5,000 released. I'm not sure if there's more coming or what, but you can get those. They're just a little more expensive than the commercial version. There's some other differences too, such as a beefed up slide. So the actual slide on the M17, not the P320 M17, is a little beefier, less milling. They look the same identically from the outside, just the inside is actually a little beefier. It's got a heavier recoil spring, like I said, the PVD parts. So let's talk about the M17 real quick and some features that this thing has. All right, guys, we're gonna kick things off with a little trivia question for you. Now, this is kind of a trick question, so listen to my question carefully. When did the founding fathers sign the Declaration of Independence? Leave your answer in the comment section below. If you get it right, I will leave you a heart. Now answer the question. Scripture of the video right here, 2 Corinthians 5:10, for we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each one may receive what is due for what he has done in the body, whether good or evil. Let that one sink in. Hope you enjoy the video. You do have a 1913 rail in the bottom with 3 slots. This is called the carry grip module, so it's a little shorter. It's actually, it'd be flush fit with an M18. M17 has a longer slide. This also has an ambidextrous thumb safety on the back. So yeah, it is on both sides. That's what ambidextrous means. The magazine release can be reversed to either a left side or right side, and you do have an ambidextrous slide stop on both sides, and then you have your standard P320 takedown lever right over here. The reason I got the M17 is because a few people reached out to me, a couple of friends, and they asked if I want to do some reviews on some parts that they're coming out with the guns, including Mischief Machine, Ride On, and Apex. So Apex is going to be sending me, I believe, a new trigger for this thing. They're also sending me an adapter for the Delta Point Pro for an acro, so that'll be useful. And then Mischief Machine is working on a grip module for the P320. The reason I got this instead of a standard P320 is because I really want to test out the M17 version. I've always kind of wanted one, even though this thing's going to be completely different in the next few months. So I figured while I have the gun the way it is, if you guys were to buy the P320 M17, how's it gonna come? So what comes in it, I already did an unboxing. I'll link the video up here so you can watch that video. I'm just gonna start referring to the M17. We've already cleared up. This is not the actual military version of the M17. This is the commercial version of the military version. It pays homage to the military version. I'm just gonna call it the M17, much easier. It comes with two 21 round magazines and a 17 round magazine. Now the 17 round magazine, as you can see, this one does have some rounds in it, so I'm not gonna close the slide. It's relatively flush fit. It kind of protrudes a little through the bottom. And then the 21 rounders have this extension on the bottom. So you can see obviously there's a difference. Now this is a full-size gun, and I really like full-size guns. There's something refreshing about just a full handful of pew-pew. I do enjoy that. Having the extensions doesn't bother me because I'm not gonna carry this thing inside the waistband. This is gonna be pretty much a range gun. If I do training with my buddies and we're wearing some gear and kit and LARPing together, then this is a good option to be doing that, especially considering it's modeled after the current military firearm, or the current military sidearm. Obviously, what comes in the box is pretty standard stuff as with any gun, including your trigger locks and all that stuff. So on the back right here, this is the PRO optic mount. So the plate actually comes with a set of sights on it. These are night sights. You got your green in the back and then your green tritium in the front. That's about all the features. So obviously a breakdown of this guy is very easy, very similar to every other P320 on the market, because it's a P320. What I love about the P320s is you have the grip modules. I love the grip modules. I love the fire control units. That's why I'm so addicted to the P365 guns out there, because you can do so much with them. You can actually buy an aftermarket grip module and not have to fill out a 4473. That's pretty awesome. I'm taking a brief pause right here, and I want to thank everybody that supports my channel out there, everybody that subscribed to my channel, my Patreon members that have signed up for my Patreon, and my channel members. And also I want to give a shout out to my largest channel supporters, ETS, Elite Tactical Systems. They came out with something new very recently. Check this out. These are new mags by ETS. Now, if you guys are familiar with the original style of the ETS mags, these are what they are. This is one of their smoked Glock 17 mags right here. So it's all plastic, but they are pretty durable. I've had no issues with these guys right here. However, they actually stepped their game up and they got these guys now. These are the new ETS mags. They actually have steel inserts with steel feed lips on it for increased durability. These are also the Glock 17 mags, and these things look pretty good. So I'm gonna do a little video on these mags just to show you guys how they work, but that's for another day. So check out ETS if you guys are looking to get a set of these. I'll leave a link in the description below. Thanks, ETS. I appreciate the support. So let's talk about some of the parts and the makeup and how this thing is actually built. So the slide is completely stainless steel slide with a coyote-tan PVD finish. The barrel is made of carbon steel. And you do have a lighter recoil spring compared to the military version of the M17. Like I said before, the M17 has a beefed up, less milled slide. It's built up to fire those 9mm NATO rounds, whereas the commercial version is made up basically to fire what's available out there. This thing, the commercial version is more adaptable than the actual M17 version, because the commercial version is made to fire not only plus Ps, but also the lighter rounds on the market too. Whereas those NATO rounds are pretty much plus Ps. Slide is a very solid built slide. Now, of course, you do have your grip module right here. And then inside the grip module is your fire control unit. The fire control unit is a serialized part of the gun. So, like I said, if you want to get an aftermarket grip module, you can just order online, they'll ship it to your door, and then you take your fire control unit inside, stick that in your new grip module without having to fill out any more documentation or registering, whatever you got to do in your state. Overall length of the gun with the slide on it is 8 inches long, so it is a full-size gun, and the weight of it unloaded is 29.6 ounces. The trigger itself is a standard curved trigger. So I will say on the trigger, it's a very soft trigger. I don't have my trigger weight gauge on me, I don't have my trigger scale on me, but it's a pretty soft trigger, but it's predictable. So there's a little sponginess past the break, but then you squeeze a little bit. So I know it's gonna break right here. It's actually very soft. Which it is. The reset is fine. Nice. So the trigger is not as bad as a lot of people lead it on to be. However, I do feel like it could be a little crispier, but I'm actually surprised that it's not that bad. Again, Apex is sending some stuff, so I believe they're also gonna be sending me some kind of a trigger for the M17 as well. So I'm excited to try that thing out. So let me talk a little bit about the manual safety. First, to be clear, I'm not a fan of manual safeties simply because it's one more thing to have to remember to teach your muscle memory to drop before needing to use your gun. Now that's a total preference thing. If you guys like safeties, then perfect. Here's a model with a safety. There are P320s out there that do not have the manual safety in the back, but the military contract required a manual safety, a manual thumb safety. So that's why I got this guy. Now, if I had a gun that has to have a safety on it, I do like the fact that when you flip the safety on, it blocks the trigger from being used. It feels like there's a safety on. when you release it, of course, it works. Now, there's some guns out there that simply disengage the trigger, which I think can lead to confusion, to be honest. I mean, if you need to use your gun and the trigger feels like it's broken, like a safety that just disengages the trigger, in the heat of the moment, when your brain is not there, will you remember to, oh, the safety's on? If the safety physically blocks that trigger from working or even actuating at all, then you know, oh, feels like the safety's on. Boom, you can drop the safety and squeeze the trigger. If it has to have a safety, I do like this safety. It'd be kind of cool if this had a decocker. Sorry, my wife made me some pancake tacos. They're delicious. Overall performance, I have fired a few hundred rounds through this thing in the past 2 weeks since getting it, and it feels good. It actually feels good. I'm not used to the grip angle. I've been doing so much Glock type stuff with other guns that are similar to the Glock grip angle. Other than that though, it feels good. The trigger, especially, triggers feel different when dry firing it versus when it's actually doing something like striking a primer. The trigger doesn't feel bad. It's not a noticeable thing out there. I think this trigger feels much better than a stock Glock trigger. So if you're used to aftermarket triggers, obviously this is gonna feel like it underperforms, but if you're used to stock triggers, especially like the Glock triggers absolutely suck from factory, this blows the stock trigger away. Overall, the performance feels fine. The only issue I had was with shooting this polymer ammunition. I had about 2 or 3 cases that were out of spec. It wouldn't even chamber the rounds. So that was the first time experiencing that, even with that ammunition. But aside from that, when I fed it everything else, it worked just fine. So overall performance is pretty good. Now let's talk price tag. I actually bought this thing at Rural King, and I paid about close to 800 bucks out the door. That's after taxes. I want to say this is about 750. I've seen these online brand new for about 630. So I'm sure there's some other local stores that have it for much less than I paid for it. Tennessee has a pretty high tax. It's a 10% tax. So do I think it's worth the price tag? I would say yes, because all your other major brands that we like out there, Glock 45s, the Springfield Echelon, which is one of my absolute favorite releases. If you haven't seen my Echelon video, check out those videos because that Echelon is really cool. I'm gonna do comparison on this versus the Echelon next. And I feel like it's not overpriced. SIG is very proud of their pricing. If you think about it, this costs the same as a P365. I do think those 365s are a little overpriced, but they're great little guns too. If you guys have any questions, leave it in the comment section below. See you guys.